Hey there, crafty peeps. It's Rhonda from Rhonda World 365. I am back with another video to share with you today. This is for a swap that I am participating in on Junk Journal Junkies. That is on Facebook. It's a group, a journaling group, and so the swap is a stuffed envelope swap, and it's ending today, so we're being partnered up today. So I thought I would quick show you all of the goodies that I have assembled for this swap. And now what it is exactly what it sounds like. The envelope comes to you stuffed chock full of ephemera and goodies. Now there is specified criteria for it, and I'll kind of go over some of that with you, maybe not into extreme detail, but a little. But there is some specified criteria of things we needed to include, and to meet the the swap's requirements. And we're given a partner, and so when I get my partner, it should end up in today, so we should receive our partner shortly thereafter. And once I receive her envelope, or his envelope, whomever, then I will go ahead and share that with you as well to show you all the goodies I got. If this is something that entertains you, or if this is something that maybe you are thinking about doing, I would encourage you, go on Facebook, join Junk Journal Junkies. You can take a look at all the events, that's all the swaps and things like that that they have. And there's a lot for beginners, especially if you've never done anything before. It'll specify that. But you can try your hand and maybe get some things that you didn't have before, or get some, some beautiful made journal from somebody else, and you have then new ideas. But it is always encouraged. It's a lot of fun. But I would do it if I was you. If you're just thinking about it and you're worried maybe you're not quite up there yet, well, those ladies will get you in gear real fast. You can see their techniques, and you can try your hand at something maybe you haven't before, but you'll love it. And in the meantime, I'm going to share with you all of mine. So without wasting just a little more time of yours, I'm going to show you. So this is the envelope that I'm using. It is a 12 by 6 envelope, and when I'm done, unfortunately, it's like overly stuffed. So when I get to the post office, I may choose to put another envelope on top of it. Also because I don't know that I want to write on it, because if you know anything about junk journaling, we junk journalers often use these kinds of envelopes for our soft cover journals. And I, let me see here, Craftyirina and who else is it? Let's see, it's Craftyirina and I think it's Yvonne White, or Yvonne Crafty White Preston does tutorials on them. Eventually I will do a tutorial on that. I just have not yet. If that's something you'd like to see, please comment so that I do know that there's stuff like that you'd like to see. And I'll keep sharing my swaps and stuff like that with you. So if my swap partner doesn't want to see this, I encourage you to look away now and be surprised when you get yours. Or if you want to see what you're in for, well then by all means continue watching. So that is actually, that envelope will be one of the items that she can use in her crafting. And then one of the things was 3 homemade paper clips, 3 homemade embellished paper clips. So I've done all 3 of these, and I'm going to flip them over real quick. So these paper clips were regular paper clips, and I bought this coppery bronze spray paint, and I sprayed them. And while there is some pieces that are not quite sprayed, it did the effect that I wanted, which was to kind of give them a coppery vintagey feel. So that's what I've done with those. And then I'll just go over them real quick. I did receive in another swap from Joyce Lindner, and then also I think Rosemarie Arechederra, I'd received these 2 different laces. So this is kind of a brocade pattern, and this one here is like a cheeseclothy lace pattern. And those I've incorporated as little backups. Greatness is made up of little things. That's a stamp I have, and I put it on one of those Tim Holtz tickets. This butterfly, a friend of mine, Diane, she had this butterfly cut out. I don't have that. It's die cut. And I had these flowers, and we put a jewel on there, and then we just distress inked it. It looks so vintage and very nice. Behind you can see that's Tim Holtz paper. And all that is cut to about almost an inch thickness and just length to my liking. And then I went ahead and I would say fishtailed it. So I just cut it to where I wanted it. You know how the easiest way to do that is if you got pliable paper, bend it in half and cut down at an angle. It'll pop out the center and it'll pretty much be even. And that created that little bow look on the tags. And then I was spending a lot of time on these because these were the ones that were kind of really worked on. And then there was this gold that I had received. It's like a gold lacy thing, lacy patterned piece. It was a scrap that I had received. And these are Tim Holtz papers, or Tim Holtz ephemera, little like chips. There's a bird and there was a flower. I put the bird on the flower, and then I thought that like this little twine here, birds often pick up twine and things like that, and I kind of wrapped that around and put parcel post there. And again, one of those fishtailed bow edges. And these ones will slide on. I've got a righty and a lefty, so she can slide those on different papers. And then this one goes over the top. Now what I did is, I don't like the shorter end. I like to have as much paper clip on there as possible, because if it's going to hold a tag or a journaling card, as much as possible. And I'll do a tutorial a little bit later on how I embellish certain paper clips. And if that's something you would like, please also like and comment there as well. So I used the shorter end and I kind of covered that up. And then I went ahead, and there's 2 postage stamps here. And this is actually, it's a piece of like a burlap ball, and I just kind of pulled out some of the edges so that it frayed, you know, burlap ribbon type stuff. And Go On It Adventures, another stamp I had, and that went on to graph paper. And this is again a Tim Holtz ephemera piece. So those are the 3 I made for it. And then I've also included other ones that I've made. Now these aren't real vintagey, but they're just like extras, cute little extras, that so that she can have that. Ice cream cone was a sticker. And then of course another one of those butterflies that Diane and I made. And then a layered flower. And I put them all on this, it's a Tim Holtz ephemera. It's postcard, and it's just a page. It was just to keep these little guys on, so that when she gets it, she can see and enjoy it. And maybe just it won't look quite so, you know, stuffed into a bag or something, plain. So I just slide those little guys on right there, and that will be her paper clips. Then there was to do some of these, and I'm going to go through because they're probably not all in the same order, but to do some envelopes. So I didn't do too much to the envelopes. They're supposed to be tea-dyed, so of course they are. Tea-dyed or coffee-dyed, they are. And then I stamped on with a Tim Holtz set that I have, and it's just vintagey things. So there's the hot air balloon, the bird cage, the globe, and a postage stamp, and I thought that was kind of clever. I also did include this envelope. It's one I got from a, we were at this thing in Rockford called Churchill Grove garage sales, and this guy was selling little bags full of like stuff like this. And it's already a used envelope. It's already very vintage. It's postmarked, it looks like 1841. So I thought that she might be able to get some use out of that. I did give her 2 tea-dyed coffee stained book cards, library cards. And this is one of the journaling cards. Life is the flower for which love is the honey. And then if you turn it over, it's kind of like a postcard. They wanted vintage playing cards, and I didn't really have those, so I made my own. And I do think they came out pretty cool. These were older playing cards, of course, but I'm not sure what vintage would be considered because these were probably from the 80s. And then another journaling card. This one I made with a little stamp, and it's on an index card inked. There was postcards. They did want us to include some postcards. So, and there may be more in here when I go through it. Like here's another one of those envelopes. I gave her a mini envelope with a clock stamped on it. And let's see if I can find any more. Okay, there's a few others, but anyway. So then these postcards, they are vintage postcards. One of them is actually written on from 1951. So she'll get that, and it's of the temple. Let's see, so Bryce Canyon National Park in Utah, and that looked kind of cool to me. And then this one's Kendale, Massachusetts. It's Houstonic River and Monument Mountain, so that's a vintage one. And then this one I thought to brighten it up a little, give her flowers, Glacier Park, and that is also a postcard, and this one's from St. Paul, Minnesota. So then this is another one of the journaling cards, and everything was tea-dyed except for the things that were already currently vintage because I didn't want to take away from their natural effect. It says, when time flies when you're having fun, and then it has those. And I thought that kind of looked vintagey, so then I tea-dyed it for more vintage feel. Let's see here. Okay, I included this, and this is one of the extras. I found these. Somebody was had just tossed them, and they were at the thrift store. And this one says November on it, and it is a folder card, and they had it in a recipe catalog, and I'm not sure if it was for something. So I just thought that was kind of cool, and I included it, and it's an extra. Another one of the journaling cards, You and Me, and then a couple little journaling cards, Closed, and I Choose You. This one says I Love You. These are all, some of these are extra cards because there was a bunch. And this says, no matter how tall I grow, I will always look up to you. And it's cute. And then this is an extra envelope, just included. And there's no stamping on that particular envelope so that she can do what she likes on that one. Then we were supposed to include, oh, and this is also a piece of ephemera. And it is from a paper pack that I had, but I tea-dyed it, of course. Everything's tea-dyed. And it just looks like a seating ticket for an event. And so we were supposed to stamp, I think five stamped images. And I was stamping, and I had this paper, and it was like a scrap piece. So I was like, oh, I like that. I'll stamp there. And I stamped the bicycle. Life is a journey. And then I was thinking, you know what would be really neat if I had, because I had all these scraps of, they're like handmade paper, flower paper or whatever. There's flowers in them and stuff. So I stamped a bunch of the images on those, the 4 images on those. So that says Life is Beautiful. It's hydrangea stamp. This is a tree. It says Big things often have small beginnings. And then this one is like just one of those, you know, the what do you call those? Dandelion, but you know, like how the dandelions turned into the little wishing flowers. And then this one says, Time is a great storyteller, with a little clock. So I thought she'd really get a kick out of those. And then we were supposed to include, oh, here's another one of those envelopes, little bee on it. So she's got a little extras here and there. So we were supposed to include some vintagey or vintage feel napkins. And so I have these, and they are not severely old or anything, but they are party napkins, and I did get them from a place that I know of that's here in, well, kind of close to here in Galena. And they kind of gave that vintagey feel to me, so I thought those two would be kind of good to include. and they've got all kinds of little patterns on them. They'll be great for her to, you know, decorate the front of a journal with, or anything else that she's really liking. And then we needed to do, let's see, it was 5 tags, stamped tags. So I have this frog, and he's dancing around. It says, "The best things in life aren't things." And then I stamped this one, and I got this one at the stamping convention in Rockford, the one that held at Cliff Breakers in March. And I just really loved that background stamp, and I thought, well, she could do anything she wants with that. And then this one that says, "Thinking of you always cheers me up," and I have the little bird cage and the little light post and all that. And I love my cute little Tim Holtz Angry Birds, or Crazy Birds, sorry, not Angry Birds, Crazy Birds. So I use them, and it says, "If you don't shine, you're just dull. Choose to shine." So I have him with his little bunny ears on, and him with his little top hat and his tie, and I just wanted to make it kind of funny. And then this one is more of a postage feel looking stamped tea-dyed tag. So those are the tags that I did include on purpose, like as part of the criteria. And then here's some more journaling cards. And here's an extra postcard that I made, and that I put in, and it was cut, but it was cut down, and it does look very cute, and it did have writing on it, and I don't know that it's dated, but it's definitely vintage, and it says New Year's greetings, and it's just really cute, so I included that, and this last journaling card there. Now, there were pieces of ephemera and other things we were to include, so I'll show you a couple more that I did, but most of this is just the extras. So this is like a journaling card or piece of ephemera, and this one as well, and I'd printed those off a long time ago from some DigiKit I got off of Etsy. And again, another one of my scrapbook paper stashes, and it looks like a price ticket. This I found at the thrift store, at the Goodwill outlet, excuse me, and there's a whole series of these, and they were just like little, they look like coasters, of course, but I tea-dyed it so that I could include it, and I really did like that. And then these are, there's another one of those from my scrapbook paper stash. This I ordered off of Wish, and it says best wishes, and it kind of looks like a Polaroid, and I included it. Now I did not ink this because this is just an extra. It's not even one of the 10, it's just an extra. But I thought she'd get a kick out of that, and I had made this little journaling pad. There's 3 pages to it. It's got washi tape gold on the bottom. It says memories are stitched with love. There's a little button, and that's on each page. And then at the top, this washi tape is the like a ruler or measuring tape lined washi tape, and then the key, and it's all kind of in this yellowy vintagey feel paper, so I thought that kind of went really well. We were supposed to include vintage pages as well, and the vintage pages needed from a book needed to have, a couple of them needed to have extra, excuse me, they needed to have pictures on them. So I found this very, very old vintage, what do you call it? It was a cookbook of some kind, and this was in it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I gotta include that. That's too cute. It's like a cut scrap from a paper, and then this is one of the pages from the cookbook, soups. And then there's another one, and this is the continuation, so that you can see the soups that it's talking about. And then this was a different one. It was a baking book, and so I included the vintage pages from that as well. Most of them have pictures, so I thought they'd like that. And then this was stuffed in there, and we were supposed to include some vintage other pages. And I thought, well, it's got all these goodies on the back. It's very, I mean, it's definitely a vintage paper. I mean, who sell, you know, the pattern in the paper. And then that's like Little Boys Like Cookies, and those are chocolate chip cookies, quick macaroons, all of which could be used, you never know. And then over here it says good golden shepherd's pie. So if you wanted to make shepherd's pie. And then there's a barbecue lamb pie and a lamb rice. And it's it says Crisco. It's like I got a Crisco ad. It's very funny. And so that one, I was having trouble with some of these little bits and pieces were kind of traveling on me or falling off. So I was like, ooh, I don't want to lose too much of those. These are some of the extra goodies I've included. My Cricut cuts out envelopes. So I use some pattern paper, vintage the edges, vintage on the inside, you know, inked on the inside distress. And that's a little envelope, and she can choose to use it either as just an envelope, or it could be you write on the inside and you close up the envelope with like a little paper clip or something. And then this one also, I use this paper and another envelope. And then I had these envelopes were given to me by Joyce Lindner, and I just loved them, so I had to put them in. They're kind of fabric-y, kind of papery. And so I put one of those in. And I got these two little guys off of Wish. And they have these really incredible little tiny, envelopes. And they're so cute. And they look so vintagey, but on the inside they're not. So, but these are just extra included because I didn't, want to do too much with them. Mess with them too much. So she can choose on her own, or he can. And this is a tag that I made. I used some of that diary paper or journaling paper that was from an old book that was already, a pre-made book. I used on the other side, I glued music paper, and then on top of that with Mod Podge I laid a napkin piece. So it's just kind of a homemade tag, and I thought it was really cute, and I thought I'd include that. And then my Cricut, I have a thing and it cuts out these too. So they're kind of like little journaling cards, or they could be used as page tags or whatever else you want. And a person can journal in them. So those are included as well. And these are a few of my own homemade tags that I've made. So the tags look like this. Oops. And then this one also. And then this one was one of my scrapbook papers, and it's already stamped in, and it's got this little tie to it, so I thought that would be cute for an extra. And then I have this cellophane envelope. It's a, glassine envelope, and I just really love that. And so inside it I stuffed these little ephemera pieces. That says vintage. I thought that was, most appropriate. And I printed some of these off from DigiKits, like that one and this one. And then this one was from Scrapbook Bits, and so is this, because I thought, oh, somebody could use that for something, or I can. And they're great for little journaling pieces. And I've enclosed them inside this little glassine envelope, so that'll be a surprise. We were supposed to come up with vintage paper and other odds and ends. And these are two of the dyed envelopes. They're tea-dyed, but I did use that one paper, instead of my cookie sheets, this is one of those griller sheets that has the dots. So I thought that was kind of a cute little fact just for extra. And then I got these, and they are vintage note paper, or vintage stationery from a garage sale, the Churchill Grove garage sale here. And I had to include a couple pieces of it when she gets to the weight of this. And there is actual gold leafing on this paper. It's very old and just amazing. And when she gets to this one, she'll really like those. I did include a tea, oh no, this was inked. I did not tea dye it because I didn't want to mess with it, ruin it. But it's vellum, so I inked the edges. And then these are pages of scrapbook pages that I included, as well as, because we were supposed to include 5, so I did include those. And those are littler ones, and then I included some larger scale ones, like that one, and this one here, and you can see, and then this one as well. I folded them down so they'll fit into my box, and then one more is right here. So they will fit into, not my box, my envelope, sorry. So these will fit into the envelope, and they're really just nice pieces for her to work with, play around with, or him to work with, play around with, whoever gets it. And then I did have, we had 3 vintage music sheets, so I included 3 full book pages of this. It was a vintage book. I did tea dye more just to give it an extra effect. But it was already a vintage book, and had songs in it. It is, you know, more of a spiritual or, you know, religious hymn book, but it's still the music sheets. And then these are some of this one right here is bits and pieces extra, so I'll show you to you last. They wanted stamps, so stamps and tickets, I believe. Ooh, there goes my stamps. So I've included these stamps, and they are used stamps. They're from that guy that I was telling you about that was selling the bits and pieces at the Churchill Grove garage sale. And so I've gotten all different kinds of little vintagey ones, and then we were supposed to do tickets as well. So the tickets are right here, my tickets. They're all different sizes, and I added that little one because it was too darn cute. So we were supposed to do 3 tickets, so they'll get 4 tickets. And I did add extra stamps just because who can't use stamps? You know, you can always use the stamps to add interest to your pages. And then along with that, we were supposed to do 3 flowers. So I did add 3 handmade flowers. And these were the 3 that I included for the requirement. They are handmade, and this one's out of paper, this one's out of layers of flower, paper, and a lace, and then this one is again out of pattern paper, and I die cut and cut and glued and created that flower. I did the same thing with that one, so this is an extra. And then I have also included, and I might remove some of those to another area, I've included another one of those butterflies so she can do something with it, with the flower on it. And then I included one that wasn't quite vintaged up, well 2 actually, sorry. So this one is layered, it's those layered paper flowers or paper, you know, cloth flowers, and then this one. And my Aunt Jennifer and I and my friend Diane and Brenda, Diane and Brenda all made those. So those are, and I'm going to put them all back in here because they are the flowers. So those are the flowers that she'll receive, or he'll receive, my partner will receive. I'm putting them back in the bag real quick here so that nothing happens to them. And like I said, there's always a lot of extras with me. And then these are extra goodies that they'll also receive. And this is like a fabric piece, and I just thought it was kind of cool looking. This one is, I glued, I used those stones, those little clear stones, and I glued it to a little bottle cap saying lemon soda. And behind that, it's on a paper clip, and I included one of these very mini envelopes. And then I just put that back up in there. So she has that, and then I included one of these. This is a wood chip butterfly, so she can play around with that. That's just extras. It's just goodies and fun. Just plain fun. And that's all included as an extras bit. We were supposed to do 3 charms, and I'll show you the charms I selected. So I selected a butterfly and the house. This is a little bird house. I'll pick it up and let you see it a little higher. So that's the birdhouse. It said no danglies, just charms. And a teapot. And then I have a key I included, and I made a little angel. So I thought those would be fun to include as extras also. And they just slide right in. to the bag just so that they don't get lost in the fray. We were supposed to include 5 buttons. So I went over and I snagged 5 buttons out of my grandmother's vintage button stash. She has a little tub of them, and my mom is keeper of the last of the tubs. And I selected a few of those, like this. Just vintagey, real vintage buttons. But then I also included these because I had received them off of Wish. And I thought, they're really cute too. I'm going to give her those as extras, as, you know, because even if you don't use them on a vintage project, you can use them on a lot of other things. And I use them sometimes for closures and things like that, so it's a lot of fun. We were also to include lace. And these are the lace bits. They're supposed to be 12 inches or longer. And I tea dyed, this one was a yellow, and I tea dyed it. So it looks like that, but it's tea dyed. So it does look a little grungy, but I was trying to do that. And the lavender I did the same with. So it does look grungy, but when you put it out, it just looks more vintage feel. And I really like how that turned out. And then these two were also tea dyed a bit, but they still retained a lot of their color. And that was just extras. I thought, well, somebody will like those. And I thought, you know, this one actually looks kind of vintagey, kind of gypsy, you know, like ephemera. And then this is actually from an old scarf. Well, at least it's a scarf from the 60s. And I did tea dye it, but I didn't really want to take away too much of the color because I was like, oh gosh, that's really pretty with those little the little hanging pieces and such. And then I did include a regular off-white lace. It looks more white on this video, I'm not sure why. It's actually off-white because I do have a really white one too, and it's a little bit more yellowy than that. But it's still pretty, you know, pretty new looking. And those are the lace. And the last little bits, this was a last minute addition that I thought, oh yeah, I want to add this. I want them to see, you know, to have some extra goodies. And I have this die set, and it's a Sizzix die set, and it cuts out like these vintagey little items, and so I couldn't resist. I had to include them, and so I'll show you those right now. This one, it cuts it like a hole, so it could be a button, but it's really, I think it's supposed to be a die, like a dice. And this little key, and I tried to use like vintagey looking or vintagey feel things. So the girl ones, the ones that I felt looked kind of girly or felt like were more of a girly theme of the dies, die cuts, got this flowery paper, while the boy, or ones I felt were more masculine, got this like darker, with the backs looking like that. So that's a stopwatch, scissors, a ticket, this button, this one's a postage stamp, and for some reason it had like a little bow tie, a nautical steering or a nautical boat wheel, a bigger postage stamp, a lock. I love that lock. That was just cute. This is another button, a larger button. This is a thimble, and it has on the die, it shows like little like square cuts and everything, but it doesn't make those cuts, so you know, you're left to your own devices. And then another heart button, which I thought was really cute, and this cameo, which is adorable, but it also cuts out the little head, so I included the little bodice as well, the bust, the head bust, and then a bird cage. So all these really cute little items are going to be included, and that will be what she gets or he gets when we're partnered up. So as soon as I get theirs, I will go ahead and do a video on that. Thank you for tuning in, and keep on crafting.